Hello guys, and welcome to our Michael Herr video. This is entitled Signs of the End. In this video we're going to be talking about Jesus' sermon regarding the end of the world prophecies, where this was a sermon that Jesus gave on the Mount of Olives, which was a discourse about the future. And it had some very interesting things. So if we look into Matthew chapter 24, this is where we're going to be studying Jesus' words on this. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. What Jesus is revealing is the buildings that are around him. The buildings around him are actually government buildings. And what Jesus is revealing is the propaganda where the Roman Empire stated they would last forever. Their propaganda was that they were the final end-all be-all of all empires. And at that point they had been around for centuries. And then these buildings are very grand, very ancient, and very old. So when Jesus points these buildings out, he's saying, not one stone here will be left on another, but it will all be thrown down. Jesus is actually revealing the overthrow of governments, the overthrow of the Roman government. And it is the overthrow of the entire governmental world because Rome ruled the world at the time. And so that was probably a shocking statement. They could probably understood if other governments would be coming down, meaning localized governments that are controlled by Rome. But to point out Roman buildings and to say they're all coming down is a pretty shocking statement indeed, but it is a statement that actually came to pass. And it does relate to things that would go on in the future, that people would have governments that would amass power and really believe that they can defy God, defy the truth, and continue on without it. And what Jesus is revealing is that that won't happen, that eventually they will come down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? So that's why we call this video Signs of the End. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. This is the first thing that Jesus says. Take heed that no man deceive you. Why would that be the very first statement that would come out of Jesus, come out of God? The reason being is because a lot of people are going to be deceived in these end times. The end times started when Jesus went into heaven and continues until Jesus returns. So it's been going on for a very long time. In this end of days time frame, we are more nearer to the end than our counterparts from the past. But we still have some ways to go. But in the midst of that, notice how thick the deception is. Evolution, celebrityism. We have feminism, homosexuality, anti-God policies. How many people want to attack God? We live in a world today, from even political institutions and alternative media, who are not afraid to say things like God ain't real, or Jesus sucks, or things of this sort, or, all these things they say about God. They don't want to believe that God is real. We have scientists that refuse to believe in supernatural things. Think about how thick the deception is. Think about how God is removed from schools, colleges, communities, and then he's reduced to these church buildings who oftentimes, more than not, will deny that there's a supernatural reality while preaching the Bible to you. We are raised by K-12. We are raised by daycare centers. We are raised by parents who were raised also by those things. So think about for a second. Think about how thick that deception must be. Think about all the doctrines that supposedly Christianity is represented by, even though God says there's no division within his true church, which is the gathering of the people and not the building and the denomination. But think about that for a second. Catholicism, Baptism, Protestantism, Presbyterianism, Methodicism. Think about for a second all the different doctrines that go with that and how that must be confusing to other people who just rather not believe in God, because at one point the denominations are all divided and they're all about their own interpretations. Then at another point, the scientists and the worldly institutions don't even want to believe in God, but yet the church institutions and the worldly secular institutions are all making money together through taxes, through politics, through things of this sort. So where is the real word of God? Where is God's word? Where is God's teaching? It's hardly non-existent, and his ministers are being wiped out and destroyed as I speak. Soon I'm about to become homeless. So that's why I figured I should make this video right away. So it's a rather sad thing indeed about what's going on out in this world. Take heed that no man deceive you. Absolutely right. Because we are living in an age where there's nothing but deception going on. There's nothing but lies going on. Everybody is deceived at certain levels, and you have to have the knowledge and wisdom to know how to deal with them. Because many people find it very hard to understand everything accurately, or they don't understand anything at all. And so when you got those factors going on, indeed, it is a world filled with deception, and you can be easily deceived, even by people with the best intentions. Because even if they have the best intentions, they may still have something in their back, which is a knife called their own curses or their own hang-ups and things they haven't gotten over. Or it could be the way they're thinking, the way they've been structured to believe. Too many people have been overly spoiled. Too many people have been given far too many of the opportunities, and others have been suffering under the weight. People have been getting over for the wrong reasons, or being put down for the wrong reasons. Take heed that no man deceive you indeed, because the deception runs thick. And the truth is, when it comes to people in the world, people around you, half the time you cannot trust them. You have to learn to fend and trust God, and learn who your true family members are. Because most people are not your family. Most people don't understand you, and they don't want to. They want you to understand them while taking away what you believe in. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So that's really confirming what I've just said. There are many churches out there representing Jesus Christ, but they're not about Jesus Christ. There are many people out there who say they believe in God, but yet don't hold to the Bible. Therefore, no matter what they're telling you, they're not Christians. If they don't understand the Bible, how can they be Christians? If they tell you things like, I don't need to read the Bible, or I don't want the Bible, or I don't need to pray, but I know that God be real, that's not Christianity. Think about what it's saying here. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. You got people that will even declare themselves to be persons who are of their own godhood. You got New Age believers who think they're God. You got people who actually represent institutions who believe God is in here. You got people who tell you, believe in yourself, believe in your heart, believe in your mind and soul, without believing in an actual God who's separated from you. You got people who do this constantly and all the time. And they will deceive you according to the Bible. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So notice it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Why does it say that? Because governments will fabricate their own wars. They will fabricate their own stories. They will fabricate the situation. You ever heard of fake news? You ever heard of politicians going against their word? One day they're promising you good things, and then the next thing they switch over and do the opposite of what they stated they would do? You see, God is saying don't pay attention to any of this. Listen to it. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. Meaning don't bother with it. Don't trouble yourself with it. Don't pay attention to the media. Don't pay attention to your lying politicians, especially when they're talking about wars and destruction and shootings and all these other things. Because you're going to trouble yourself with actions they are fabricating or they are creating for themselves. Situations they could be instigating or outright creating for you to be distracted by, for you to be drawn to it, so you don't focus on what really matters, which is your relationship with God according to the Bible. Your relationship with God is very important. These distractions are not important. These matters of the world are not important. People like CNN and InfoWars and all this other stuff going on with the left and right-wing politics. Who do you believe, who you don't believe? They don't matter. They're things that trouble you. They're things that end up doing bad things as a result. So when you hear of wars and rumors of wars and all these little things people are talking about, what you're really hearing are the methods of distraction that takes away what you should be actually paying attention to. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So God is even saying there will be wars, there will be terrible events, there will be these politicians fighting for their side, fighting for their right and left family clan traditions. They will be doing these things. But when they tell you that the end of the world is coming because what one group is looking to do, or when they tell you the end of the world is coming because such and such war or such policies or such and such institutions, global warming, things of this sort, God is saying not to fear it because that is not the end of the world. That those things are man-made, fabricated fear tactics. The one who will end the world is God himself and not man. Therefore, no war is going to end the world. It's as simple as that. No global warming, no policy of any sort is going to end the world. It'll cause a lot of destruction in the world, yeah. But once again, that'll come to pass. But the world will not end yet. Meaning life, all life in the universe. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in divers places, confirming what I just said. So there will be wars. Nation shall rise against nation, meaning empires will fight with other empires. Kingdoms against kingdom, meaning political parties will fight other political parties. There shall be famines, meaning while countries and political groups are fighting with each other, there'll be poor people dying and starving in many places. Pestilences, meaning people will have strange diseases, cancer, all kinds of things. Earthquakes, meaning things that cause the earth to erupt. Strange happenings that go on underneath the plates of our continents. In divers places, meaning happening in all kinds of places, all kinds of localities. All these are the beginning of sorrows, meaning humanity is going to lose their world. There's going to come a time when these governments, with all their plotting and planning of distraction and things of this sort, determining who are winners and losers, will all end up the losers. And not just the people from the first, but even to the last. Imagine one day your government not being ruled by a human ruler. Rather, he be a president, a prime minister, a king, whatever his position may be, he or she. But imagine it's a demonic being. Imagine an alien, as they want to call that, being the one to govern governments on earth. All these are the beginning of sorrows, the beginning of things that they cannot see coming, but it will. They will lose everything they are, if they're going to continue this way. Let's read further. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Now Jesus is talking about the believers. The people of the world will afflict you. Even the fake Christians, because you could be living with them, you could sadly be married to one. They will afflict you because they're not acting in the spirit of Christianity. They're acting in the spirit of the Antichrist. And shall kill you. Some will kill you and not even think they're doing bad. And you shall be hated for all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Meaning, people will afflict the Christians, kill the Christians, and they will hate them for no reason. But in the midst of all of this, humanity will develop a very horrible mindset with each other. Many of them will be offended. Many of them will betray each other. They shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Because these false prophets will come in the form of celebrityism. They'll come in the form of money. They'll come in the form of success in the world, the standards of the world. And of course, they're going to be the reason. They're going to give the words for the itching ears of the sinners of the world who want to hear things about how they're fueled by your pride and how that's a good thing when it's not. Yes, people in the world will start offending each other. They'll start hating on one another. They'll start pointing their fingers at each other. They'll cheat on each other. They'll lie to each other. They'll betray their kids. They'll betray their families. Betray their husbands. Their husbands will betray their wives. It'll go back and forth, back and forth. It'll get worse and worse and worse until the eruption happens. You're closer to it than you think. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Meaning a lot of people will become reserved, will become pulled in, especially the Christians, when they see these horrible things happening all around them. When they see their wives or their husbands betraying them, not listening to them, causing more and more problems on their heart and their soul, not allowing them to exist, to have a life, but always finding ways to get in their minds and ruin them. You'll have community members doing that to you, bosses, family members. Everybody will be feeding on each other like some kind of sick vampire, looking to vent, and vent. Because of how bad situations will be from the first to the last, everybody will be harmed and afflicted. Christians will find it hard, and I mean the real Christians. They will find it hard to love their brother and sister. They'll find it hard to love other people. Some people they can accept, others they cannot, and they will wax cold, and everybody will. Regardless if they're a Christian or not, everyone will wax cold. It'll be harder and harder to decide who's good and who's bad, who's right and who's wrong. As Christians, you know what is the right and what is the wrong, and you know to have tolerance and patience, and to help a brother and sister in the way you would want to be helped in that situation. But you got many people out there that don't care to listen to that. They're only caring about their own situation. So be careful. Because even if you have to go to a dark place because of somebody else, remember that a lot of Christians are feeling like no one loves them, no one cares about them, and they just want them to die. And that's hard for a Christian to love somebody like that. That truly is. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So first we hear that if you endure unto the end, you shall be saved, meaning your faith. Maintain your faith during the midst of all that. Because just because this world hates more and more and more, that it turned hatred into a fashion trend, doesn't mean you have to be like that. It doesn't mean you have to follow along with that. You can go another route and maintain your faith so that you will be saved. because it's all about who had a relationship with God at the end of the day, who was chosen and who wasn't, who believed in him and who didn't. That's what matters when you die. Not money, not your job, not any of those things. What matters when you die is, did you do right in the eyes of God, or did you do wrong and reject him? As you go on, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Meaning, before that final day, the truth will always be told to the governments. They'll always be told to the people as a witness against them, to let them know you were told, but you did what you wanted, and now the end is really coming, where you no longer will be ruling anything, but simply answering for what you didn't do. This has been our Michael Herb video. If you'd like to send a donation to Michael Herb, please send it to MIGUELJIMENEZ at P.O. Box 39204, Charlotte, North Carolina 28278. You can also purchase my books at www.lulu.com. Want to say God bless you to all, and I will see you with part 2 of this video.